Hello everyone, thank you for coming today. My name is Zoe and I decided to do my capstone project on the ostrich fern response to the removal of fiddleheads. Fiddleheads are a seasonal edible green used in fern beer, goat feed, and as a delicacy in fine dining restaurants. In North America alone, over 400,000 kilograms of fiddleheads are collected from the wild annually. A company in Maine called the W.S. Wells and Son Company produces about 13 to 16 and a half tons of canned fiddleheads every year. And in Canada, another company that works with fiddleheads is the McCain Company of New Brunswick, and they sell about 55 to 110 tons of frozen fiddleheads every year as well. In the United States, there's a wholesale of non-timber forest projects, which does include fiddleheads, and in 2013 alone, they brought in $1 billion. So there is an increased culinary demand that directly correlates with the increased harvest pressures on fern populations. One study conducted in the St. John River Valley saw that there was an overharvesting of ostrich ferns, which resulted in a decrease in the frond size of the fiddleheads as well as the tenderness. Another study from 1984 removed the fiddleheads from the ostrich ferns, and they observed the second set that came back the next growing season. And this second set had fewer fronds, which cut down on the productivity of the level of the fern for the following growing season. So the main purpose of my study was to observe how the ostrich fern species as a whole reacts when a specific percentage of the fiddleheads are removed from the plant. My independent variable was the number of fiddleheads removed, and then my dependent variable was the number of fiddleheads that came back the next growing season. I had two hypotheses for this study. The first was that there would be less fiddleheads the following growing season due to an energy loss during the removal process. And my second hypothesis was that the ostrich ferns would overcompensate for the number of fiddleheads that were taken originally, so that there would be more fiddleheads the next growing season to have a higher rate of survival. My study site was about 15 meters northwest into the woods off of Syracuse Road, also known as NY92. It was near the Cazenovia Golf Club. So in April 2021, the Diversity Life class and myself went to this ostrich fern patch, and we did the initial fiddlehead counting. Then after counting the number of fiddleheads, we would use a random number generator to remove different numbers of fiddleheads from each clump of ferns. Then we would write both of those numbers on a flag and stick it next to the fiddlehead clump, as you can see in the picture back there. And then we repeated this process in May 2022, the following year. We sampled a total of 86 clumps from one population, and for both years, 17 of those clumps had 0 fiddleheads removed to act as the control group. So this figure is showing the randomness of the number of fiddleheads we decided to take from each plant. As you can see, that's kind of all across the board how many we actually took, and then the percentage of fiddleheads that were taken. So for my statistical analysis, I did correlation regression analysis, and I got an R-squared value of 0.03, which demonstrates a relatively low level of correlation between the number of fiddleheads that were originally present and the number of fiddleheads that were removed. Two interesting points I want to point out on this graph is the one all the way up at the top. So we removed about 40% of the fiddleheads from that clump of ferns, and the following growing season there was over 200% growth of fiddleheads, so it more than doubled how many fiddleheads it had originally. Another interesting point is this one down here. So we removed 40% of the original fiddleheads, and the following growing season there was no fiddleheads on that fern clump when we came back. So you can see there is pretty random amounts of regrowth across the board with all the different fern clumps that were sampled. So like I said before, there is no clear relationship seen for this study. I believe there are several factors that could have played a role to contributing to the results that I saw. So ostrich ferns have a unique root system. They have a rhizome as opposed to more traditional types of roots that people think of. So this rhizome is under the ground, and it allows for sprouts to come directly from the root above the ground to produce the fiddleheads, as well as the fertile and non-fertile parts of the plant. So since we did not manipulate anything under the ground, this could have just played a role in the fact that it really didn't matter what we did to the fiddleheads above the ground because the rhizome was playing a big part of that. Ostrich ferns are also well known for having efficient spore dispersal. So this may have also contributed to the randomness of fiddleheads that came up the following year. They are also well known for their quick recovery in forest fires specifically. Oftentimes they'll be the first plant to regenerate after a fire, and a lot of the times they do help other plants within that area to grow back because they are the first ones there and they offer shelter as well as nutrients to the other plants. If I were to redo this experiment or continue it, I would definitely add more populations within the area because I did only sample one population, and there may have been a relationship that I just wasn't able to see because I only did one population. I would also increase the length or duration of this study. If I were able to, I would probably do it for at least over a 5-year time span, just to see if there is an actual pattern with the fiddleheads coming back as opposed to just doing it over 1 year where a lot of different variables could have played a role in this. And so there would be a chance of identifying a pattern or a relationship if I were to do that. And I just wanted to give photo credits to Jakonski for taking all of the wonderful fern photos in my presentation. Are there any questions?